There were hundreds of boats plying the Murray, carrying cargo and passengers to and from the interior.
The river trade boomed here in the 1880s and declined after that, and by about 1920 the river trade was really over. This steamer here, the Adelaide, worked here in Echuca until 1958, a working life of over 90 years. During the era from 1857 through to the 20s, there was 270 steamers and barges built here in Echuca.
What do you feel for the Adelaide?
Oh, it's a terrific boat. It's like a person in itself, really. You have to keep on it all the time when you're going downstream, and if you go through shallow water, it will shoot you off to the other side. So you have to respect it a lot. And it's a very powerful boat. It's terrific to get out towing the barge around town and going on excursions to Barmer and Turrumbry.
Is it true it's the oldest wooden-hulled paddle steamer in the world?
The Adelaide is the oldest wooden-hulled paddle steamer in the world.
So it's special.
It is a very special boat.
The Adelaide's home is Echuca, the largest port on the river, built to withstand the huge difference in river levels during times of drought and flood. It was established by an ex-convict, Henry Hopwood, after his release from a prison sentence in Tasmania. He saw the need to build a river port to service the paddle steamer trade, and when the port boomed, he became one of the wealthiest men in the area. The steam locomotive eventually replaced the paddle boat, but the history lives on. The port of Echuca is now a popular tourist destination, with most of the original buildings from the paddle steamer days still standing. The Adelaide proves the age of paddle boats may be gone, but never forgotten, and has surprisingly many young admirers, like the captain, Adam Auditori, and 14-year-old Nathan Dredge, who spends all his spare time on the Adelaide. So what's your dream?
To own one, to build my own and own one.
So if things go your way, you'll be a captain one day on one of these?
Yes. Hopefully this one, but...
Why this one?
Because it's the oldest wooden hull, and it's just got a special character to it. The way of the hull and the level structure, and it's just brilliant.
Further downstream from Echuca, the waters of the Murray transformed desert into a food basket for the emerging nation. By the second half of the 19th century, the Murray River, already a water highway, was considered for irrigating the fertile but water-starved soil of the desert country. Two Canadian brothers, William and George Chaffee, who had successfully constructed steam-powered irrigation projects in the arid regions of California, were invited to design one for the Murray River. The Chaffees chose a low-lying part of the Murray, near a place later to be called Mildura, and drew up plans for a revolutionary steam engine to pump water out of the Murray. The English engineers, Tangies, looked at the specifications and predicted it would never work. But, pressed by the Chaffees, went ahead and built it reluctantly. After 90 years relatively trouble-free service, it was replaced, but the original pump can still be seen running today. Once steam pressure is reached, Ian Kellett showed how to start the mighty engine.
We're going to open up the main throttle valve to the engine, hence that stun. We are now going to crank down on the flywheel and actually get the main engine into motion. Okay, away it goes. Now what we'll do is throttle it back, and I'll proceed up and shut off the cylinder cocks.
The pump still works beautifully, moving tons of Murray River water every minute, creating a man-made river. All this water ran into separate lagoons where smaller pumps sent it into the desert. The success of the Chaffee brothers pumps sparked a burst of activity as new settlers rushed to Mildura and began building irrigation channels across the landscape. Within a few years, the good soil, plentiful sunshine and reliable water supply saw crops leap out of the ground. Today, Mildura and the so-called Sunraysia district remains Australia's most bountiful fresh and dried fruit and grape growing area. So a single steam engine, which skeptics said would never work, changed this part of Australia's history forever. The Chaffee brothers became millionaires and were prominent in the foundation of Mildura, a thriving city on the banks of the Murray. They also built the Grand Hotel, the largest of its kind and regarded as one of the best in Australia. But the Chaffee brothers will always be remembered for their steam-powered irrigation pump, now one of Mildura's most popular tourist attractions. In the far north of Western Australia, near Kununurra, another amazing irrigation project is still developing, the Ord River scheme. In this part of the world, there is a long dry season for most of the year, followed by a short but very wet season. The heavy rains are now captured by damming the Ord River, and throughout the dry season, pumping the stored water into what was once desert. With plenty of sunshine, unlimited water, fertile soil more than 10 metres deep, and an unpolluted environment, the Ord River irrigation scheme is already one of the largest and most productive food-producing places in the world. Hundreds of square miles are already under cultivation, and yet only a fraction of the available land is being farmed. So the future food-producing potential of this region is enormous. The predominant colour of Australia, especially the vast deserts, is red, because the continent is rich in iron ore. So it isn't surprising multi-million-dollar companies sprang up to mine the iron, coal and minerals, still a major part of the Australian economy. But the rush to find wealth in Australia really began in 1851, when gold was discovered at Ballarat in Victoria. The rush drew miners from all over the world. Tens of thousands trekked more than 100 kilometres from Melbourne across the uninhabited country. The miners gathered on the goldfields of Ballarat, forming a sometimes lawless tent city, as miners staked claims and often had to defend them from claim jumpers. Among them were a large number of Chinese seeking their fortune. They worked hard and were so successful finding gold, other miners became jealous and turned on them. The government segregated the Chinese from other miners for their own protection, but still deported many out of the country. Other Chinese stayed to make Australia their new home.